Hi everyone, my name is Teacher Manette from ChrisAmericas.com, where we help you to level up and show the world the best version of yourself. Today we are plunging into the ocean of English grammar with our special episode titled Grammar Deep Dive, Tenses and Their Usage. Whether you're a student, a language learner, or just curious about English, this video will help you understand and master one of the most crucial aspects of English grammar. So grab your notepads and let's dive in. Tenses are the backbone of English grammar. They help us frame our sentences to express when a sentence happens, be it in the past, present, or future. But many learners find tenses tricky. Ever got confused between I have eaten and I ate? Well, that's where tenses play a role. They are essential for clear and effective communication. English has three main tenses: present, future, and past. Each of these is further divided into four aspects: simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. It sounds like a lot, but don't worry, we'll break them down one by one. Let's start with the present tense. It's all about what's happening now. First up, the simple present tense. The simple present tense is employed in a sentence to represent an action or event that takes place or just happened in the given context or at that given moment. The present simple is usually the first tense that English students learn. You can use it to talk about yourself and other people, as well as things that occur habitually in the present. In the present simple, the base form of the verb is the same for every subject pronoun, except the third person, where you add s to the end of the verb. What do you use the simple present tense for? The simple present tense can be used for various purposes. Let's look at some functions and example of the simple present tense. It's used to quote general truths and scientific facts. For example, London is the capital of England. It's used to denote habitual actions that happen on a daily basis or occur at regular intervals. For example, I sometimes go to the gym. I never eat fish. It's used to indicate unchanging events. For example, we drive to work every day. It's used to give instructions or directions. For example, first put the water in the pot and then bring it to a boil. It's used to speak about fixed arrangements. For example, the bus leaves at 6:30 a.m. and it's used along with future constructions. For example, I hope to see you soon. Now that you can use the present simple, it is time to look at the present continuous. The present continuous, as the name suggests, is the form of tense that is used to denote an action that is ongoing or occurring in that current moment. It is also referred to as the present progressive tense, as they represent the action that is progressing in the present. There is definitely just one formula to mastering the present continuous tense, and this is how it goes. Subject plus am is or are plus present participle, the verb plus am, plus the rest of the sentence. Let's look at some uses of the present continuous tense with examples. Actions happening in the moment. For example, we are learning grammar. Look, that man is reading a book. Fixed arrangements for the future. For example, I'm getting married in July. Temporary events. For example, he's living in Wales for the moment. To complain or emphasize continuous behavior with words like always, forever, and constantly. For example, you're always leaving your socks on the floor. Try to use the present continuous tense in a sentence of your own and post it in the comments down below. Moving on, the present perfect simple is used to connect the past to the present. The time of the action is often unspecified and The focus is more on the result rather than on the action. The general formula of the present perfect tense is subject plus have or has plus past participle plus the rest of the sentence. Let's look at some usages of the present perfect tense and some examples. Actions that start in the past and continue to the present. For example, I've lived here for 3 years. Life experiences at an unspecified time in the past. For example, I've swum with dolphins. Repeated actions in an unspecified time period. For example, I visited the Eiffel Tower 3 times. Unfinished time, today, this week, this month, this year. For example, I've ridden my bicycle today. A finished action with a present result. For example, I've lost my keys, so I can't open the door. Recent past with the words just, already, recently, and yet. For example, I've just spoken to Mark on the phone. The last tense for the present tenses is the present perfect continuous tense. The present perfect continuous tense is employed in a sentence to indicate an action that started in the recent past and is still continuing in the present. The present perfect continuous tense can be formed by following the formula subject plus have or has plus been plus the present participle, your verb and ing, plus the rest of your sentence. Let's look at some uses for the present perfect continuous tense with examples. For recent past activities, for example, I've just been cleaning the car. So this means that the car is wet and clean. One continuing event, I've been reading your book. It's great. This means that I'm still reading it. Repeated continuing events, for example, I've been going to Spain on holiday every year since 1987. So this means that every holiday I go to Spain. To summarize, the simple present I like is used for regular or habitual actions. The present continuous I am writing is used for actions happening as we speak. The present perfect I have written is for actions that happened at an unspecified time before now. And the present perfect continuous I have been writing is for actions that started in the past and is still continuing. Moving on to the past tense. This is all about actions that have already happened. The first past tense that you'll often learn about in your English classes is the simple past tense. For regular verbs, we add ed to the infinitive form of the verb. For example, play becomes played, walk becomes walked, and so on. Irregular verbs, however, take a different form. There are hundreds of irregular verbs, and you just have to learn them off by heart. For example, have becomes had, come becomes came, and so on. The main use of the past simple is for finished actions in the past. For example, I was born in San Francisco. I forgot my key. I cleaned my room. We can use it with a finished time phrase like, yesterday I went to the supermarket. Last night we watched the football. The phone rang 5 minutes ago. Other common time expressions that you can use are last month, last week, last summer, in 1997, when I was a child, a long time ago, on Monday, in February, and so on. We also use the past simple for the main action when telling a story. For example, I woke up on my wedding day, I jumped out of my bed and immediately called my brother. He didn't pick up, and so I began to worry. Another common past tense is the past continuous tense. We form it using was or were plus the verb plus ing. A common use of the past continuous tense is to show that a longer action was interrupted, usually by a shorter action in the past simple tense. We often use the time expression when. For example, I was swimming in the sea when I saw a shark. Henry was sitting at home when the phone rang. She was playing golf when it began to rain. When two continuous actions are happening at the same time, we use the time expression while. For example, I was talking to Sarah while she was driving. We were playing while Dad was cooking dinner. We can also use it to show a continuing action happening at a specified time in the past. For example, yesterday morning I was practicing the piano. At 6 o'clock I was eating dinner. What were you doing at 8 p.m. last night? Finally, it can be used to add some description to a story. For example, it was a beautiful day. The sun was shining and the birds were singing. We were walking around our favorite park. An important side note is to remember that we don't usually use continuous tenses with stative verbs. Now we can move on to a slightly more difficult tense, the past perfect tense. We make the past perfect tense by using had with the past participle. We use it when one action happens before another past action. For example, the film had started when we arrived. This means that the film started before we arrived. The film started when we arrived. This means that we arrived at the same time that the film started. We use time expressions such as before, by the time, and when. Be careful. Lots of students overuse the past perfect. Remember, you only use it for actions that happened before the main action. The past perfect continuous tense is very similar to the past perfect tense. We form the past perfect continuous tense with had plus been plus verb plus ing. We use it to show that an action which started in the past continued up to another point in the past. For example, she had been living in Italy for 3 years when she lost her job. I had been waiting for 10 minutes before the bus came. By the time Steve arrived, I had been working for nearly 8 hours. With the past perfect, we use time expressions such as for 5 hours, for 2 weeks, for a long time, and by the time. We can also use it to talk about the cause of something in the past. For example, Susan is sweating because she had been running. Henry was late because he had been studying. In short, the simple past, I wrote, is used for completed actions. The past continuous, I was writing, talks about continuing actions in the past. The past perfect, I had written, describes an action that occurred before another action in the past. And the past perfect continuous, I had been writing, focuses on the duration of an action before another action in the past. Next up, future tense. This is where things get a bit tricky, but stick with me. The simple future tense is used to represent an action that takes place in the future. One fact that you should keep in mind is that a simple future action starts and finishes in the future. The formula of the simple future tense is as follows. The subject plus the helping verb will plus the base form of the verb plus the rest of the sentence. Knowing all the situations in which the simple future tense can be used will help you to use the tense effectively. Here is a glimpse of the various ways in which the future simple tense can be used to represent events or actions that are about to take place in the near future. For example, Danny and Sid will go to the gym in the evening to make guesses or predictions about someone or something in the future. For example, I guess the red curtain will look good for the backdrop. To state or express some factual statement about the future. For example, the house they are looking for will cost them a fortune. To ask questions about someone or something doing something in the future. For example, will you be able to complete it in time? To think about future consequences, conditions, or possibilities. For example, if she doesn't take this seriously, she will get into a lot of trouble. To give orders or make commands, as in imperative sentences. For example, you will have to submit all your assignments by Monday. The future continuous tense is generally used to represent an event or action that is happening at a specified time in the future. The formula of the future continuous tense is as follows. The subject plus the helping verbs will, be, plus the present participle form of the verb, plus the rest of the sentence. The future continuous tense can generally be used to denote an action that takes place at a specific time in the future. For example, Susan will not be sleeping at that time. Also used to express an action that will take place over a period of time and does not happen all at once at that time. For example, according to the plan, we will be meeting at the park around 11 a.m. To compare between the present and the future, for example, this time next month, we will be traveling to Canada. To indicate that there is more than one action taking place at the same point in time in the future. For example, I will be going to school at 8 a.m. so I can drop her off as well. The future perfect tense is a tense form that can be used to represent an action or event that will be over within a particular time in the future. The action referred to in the future perfect tense has an end time or date. The formula for the future perfect tense is subject plus the helping verbs will and have, plus the past participle form of the main verb, plus the rest of the sentence. The future perfect tense can be used when you want to speak about an action or event that will be over before a certain time in the future. For example, Harry will have planted all the saplings in the garden by 4 p.m. An action or event that will be over before another event in the future. For example, the train will have left by the time you reach the station. It is also used to express a conviction of something that will happen in the future. The future perfect continuous tense is a verb tense that can be used to refer to an action that will be continuing until a certain point of time in the future. Here is the formula that you can use to structure a sentence in the future perfect continuous tense. Subject plus the helping verbs will plus have plus been plus the present participle form of the verb plus the rest of the sentence. The future perfect continuous tense can be used to do the following: to denote an action or event that will keep going on until a certain point of time or another event in the future. For example, next month I will have been following a diet for 3 months. To depict an action or event that is the cause of some other action or event that will happen in the future. For example, I think my sister will be exhausted when she gets here, as she will have been working out for 2 hours continuously. Summarizing the future tenses. The simple future, I will write, is used for actions that haven't happened yet. The future continuous, I will be writing, talks about ongoing actions in the future. The future perfect, I will have written, is for actions that will be completed before a specified future time. And the future perfect continuous, I will have been writing, emphasizes the duration of an action up to a certain point in the future. Now, let's talk about some common mistakes. One big one is mixing up the simple and the perfect tenses. Remember, simple tenses are for specific times, while perfect tenses are for indefinite times. Another mistake is using the wrong tense for the time that you are referring to. A tip: always think about when the action is happening to choose the right tense. Let's put your knowledge to the test. I'll say a sentence and you guess the tense. She is reading a book. What tense is it? Comment down below with your answer and let's see how many of you get it right. For those of you aiming for perfection, remember, context is key. English is full of exceptions and irregular verbs. So practice and exposure to different contexts is crucial. Also, pay attention to the auxiliary verbs. They often give away the tense. We've covered a lot today, from the basics to some advanced nuances of English tenses. Remember, mastering tenses is a journey, and with regular practice, you'll get there. Keep practicing and don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're all part of the learning process. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe for more grammar deep dives and language tips. Check out our other videos for more in-depth explorations of English grammar. I will see you in the next video. If you want to learn more, go to our website chrisamericas.com. Bye.